How's it going, YouTube? We've got Worlds coming up, and it's approaching quickly. And the one thing we don't have is the matchups. We have no idea who's playing who, but we have a general idea. And I figured let's tackle it together. We're hanging out on Twitch, twitch.tv/Lawler, where we stream every day but Tuesday and Sunday. And we've got a general idea of how these should be seated, but we still got to figure out exactly what they're going to be. We're going to be taking a look at all 24 teams and trying to identify as accurately as possible. We're probably going to get a couple of these wrong because there's always like the gut decision to switch some things up to make sure that we space out who's playing where and in what group and all that kind of stuff. But we're going to try to break down two things. Number one, who the heck is playing who in the wild card stage? We've got teams ranked from 9th to 24th, and we're going to try to figure out and identify what those first matchups are. The second thing we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the group stage. And I can tell you right now, I know exactly what the rankings are from 1 through 8 because they've already told us that. So we're going to tackle that first, and then we'll get into the spicy stuff that is the wild card. And this also gives us some insight to the early matchups as well for the wild cards as well. Because we only technically need to identify 8 teams. That's about it. So with that said, let's jump over to the other screen, and I'll tell you guys what I'm showing here. So the big thing to pay attention to is in the group stage, there is 8 teams automatically qualified for the group stage. This is the teams that have already made it into the top 16 guaranteed. That is these teams right here. We've got 16 teams. 8 of them have locked in their spots, and that is done by the world's region spots. The best performing teams over the course of all 3 majors have gotten a spot. That's why at the very end, it was really important for a team like Version 1. If Version 1 would have taken 2nd place at the most recent spring major, they actually would have got enough points to bump out Energy, and Energy would have had to play in the wild card as compared to Version 1. As you can see here, point difference is only a little bit. And if they would have got one more place up, then they would have bumped up, Energy would have bumped down, and then V1 would have been in that conversation. So these are actually really important, but the big thing we're focusing in here is the world region spots. Let me move this over so you guys can see it a little bit better. But these 8 have already been solidified, and ironically enough, it also tells us the seeds 9 through 16 as well. So based upon international competition, the best performing teams in the world are going to be provided points. If North America's 5th best team takes all of their results and adds them together, it's 620 points. Same thing for Sam's 2nd seed, APAC's seed, Europe, etc. So we know our seeds 1 through 16. So I've got the teams from here already figured out, but now we got to figure out NA4. So easy. NA4 is V1. OCE number 1 is Renegades. EU4 is Dignitas. NA5 is Space Station Gaming. Change that to SSG because it's too long. EU5 is then K Corp. OCE2 is KCP. SAM2 Secret. And then APAC. This is where it gets a little bit more difficult because are we doing north or south? And arguments state that based upon results and highest overall points is Gaming Gladiators. So Gladiators should be the 16th seed. And there we go. So we have our 16 teams on how they would play and how things will show up. So with that said, we have all of our teams 1 through 16. These teams here have already punched their ticket into the 2nd stage of the RLCS World Championship. They will not play in the first 4 days, which is the wild card. These teams will be the high seeds, and they will be paired equally. So number 9 Version 1, which is NA4, will play the very worst team who is going to be in attendance, most likely assumed to be an SSA 2nd seed. So that's what we're going to try to identify here, is where these teams will match up, which should, in theory, give us our teams and our matchups for the first round of Swiss. So with that said, let's try to figure it out. The big thing we should do is we should get rid of wildcard spots and teams that we know have already got in. We could minimize the teams from this list. K-Corp's done. Dig's done. Space Station is out. Secret's out. Gaming Gladiators is out. Veloce 01 we haven't done. And then these we haven't done either. So far, that is what we're looking at. So we've got from Tokyo Verde, this is APAC North, I'm pretty sure, right? APAC North number 1. You've got Veloce, which is Mina 2, and 01, which is Mina 3, which I'm so happy that we've got 3 Mina teams going to the World Championship, which I think is incredible. We then have Pirates, which is SSA 1, and Bravado, which is SSA 2. For the club, still needs to get picked up, by the way. Someone pick up this team. They're so good. This is SAM 3, and then Pioneers, which is OCE 2, correct? Or OCE 3. Am I wrong? OCE 3, 2, 1, blast off? OCE 2. Okay, so that is all taken care of. We then have, and I can get rid of the group stage teams because they're already put in. We've got Optic, which is NA5 or NA6, which is our last ones. And then we've got Semper, which is EU6 as well, right? Yep. Okay. So record-wise, it's kind of tough to do this. And some of the pairings and the way that things are going to go. Oh, yeah, we already have KCP2. I can get rid of that. Thank you. Good catch, chat. So we have our seeds accordingly. And we need to figure out where these are going to go when it comes to the placing. So the thing in the consideration is based upon results where they should go. Couple things we don't have. We do not have results from these teams in international competition when it comes to playing in the same tournament. So they're probably going to get seeded below. I would assume APAC North is going to go somewhere in between MENA 2 and 3 if I had to guess. And you're going to see SSA towards the bottom because SSA has 0 results internationally at all. We got to see them obviously for the first time when it came to Gamers 8, but that's a crew-based system. They're probably not going to weigh that. So if I had to guess, they're going to balance these two next, which you have EU taking first. So EU, NA, NA, EU, NA, EU, NA, EU, NA, EU. So I would assume it's going to be NA and then EU. If I had to guess, I would assume this is NA6 and EU6, and you would give it to Optic, if I could type, and then Semper. That's what I assume they would do. Or to balance it, they would actually do the inverse. I also don't know what that's going to do for groups. Placement-wise, what would that be? I mean, it's basically who's going to get to play Gaming Gladiators, which I think would be EU, because EU has better performance overall for the seeds. I think they would give it to EU to balance it out. So I would actually do the opposite. That's probably what I would do for it. So that's what I think they would do. Because you have to do the inverse. So like they make up for it because EU gets 1, then they put 2 NA in a row. And then they do the inverse here because they want to make sure that like it balances out. So I do think it would be EU first instead of NA because they end off with EU. So they do the inverse just like they did here. So that's what I think is going to happen for those. So we can get rid of those. That is my assumption. Next, there's a couple different ways you can weigh this. And my brain looks at the familiarity of this as well. Because Falcons has shown as a result that it looks really well with MENA, I would think that they actually give MENA 2 another high seed. I say you either give it to MENA 2 or you give it to SAM 2 or SAM 3. I think it's between Veloce and the club, personally. That's where I'm thinking. One of those two is next. I personally think you would give it to Veloce and then the club. Based upon the region, you have to go with some assumption. I do think you have to give credit to the region and the way that they've performed. Again, a lot of the decision making is reliant on how did they perform at international competition, and because you're playing against them every single regional, you have to give that credit as well. So that's what I would do for those. And then you go back to the one that hasn't been applied, which is APAC. Because you've gotten through EU, gotten through NA, gotten through MENA, gotten through SAM. So there's your 4 top regions. And then you go to what I would assume be Tokyo Verde, because they also have international experience. And then the final 3, part of me wants to split these. It's tough because I don't like SSA 1, 2 is probably the bottom because we haven't seen any experience with them, which kind of sucks. But if it was my assumption, it's probably this. And then you do SSA 1, SSA 2. That is my assumption. I would be okay with SSA getting a nod, but because there's no performance, you kind of have to. The other thought process is, like I'm saying with these, because MENA and SAM, and you gave SAM a higher tier compared to MENA, maybe you inverse it? No, I think that's fine. I'm okay with that. The only thought process is, do I mix up these? The issue is we've never seen SSA play, right? Like we've never seen SSA play between international competition. So it's like, how do you decide where those go? The difficulty is, which I do agree with, is that even though Tokyo Verde won one individual game out of the events that they attended, they still have results and qualified for a major, which provides them points at international competition, while the others have not. And it's tough because while they didn't have, like SSA, it's unfair because they literally didn't have a chance. They literally did not have a chance. So it's not on them. You still cannot provide better seeding for teams when we literally haven't seen them. MENA, and like the reason why MENA gets bumped ahead is because we've seen MENA in international competition. We've seen APAC in international competition. MENA 2 gets the nod above, but you're not going to put MENA 2 and MENA 3 both above APAC #1 seed. You have to balance it out. You have to give credit to the fact that even though the results haven't been there in international competition, you still have to give them some sort of nod for the accomplishments that they've shown. This is what it looks like potentially for round 1 of matchups, which honestly looks pretty, like this matchup is a lot of fun. This matchup, ton of fun as well. Same with this one. I think that's what it could be. That could be your 24 seeds. Do you guys agree? Is there anything that you think out of these that could potentially be changed? And I'm curious. There was someone on the subreddit that did make their own as well, but I can tell you the seating already is a little bit off. They have Dignitas up here, which isn't right. They have V1 as the 2nd seed, which isn't right. Space Station they have here over K Corp. So they have that part right, just in the wrong order. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, they have space. So they have V1 and Space Station. So they have EU 4, NA 4 and 5, then EU again. What? That's weird. Then they have Veloce versus the club, which Veloce seating wise is MENA 2. So they're giving a lot of credit to MENA 2 above NA, which that could be a possibility as well, which we do actually have. They have these seeds totally out of order compared to what we have from the other one that I've seen people make, to kind of show you this is what the other person has made, which I think these are out of order significantly from what I've seen. I don't agree with these. So again, it's so tough, but based upon what I've seen Psyonix do in the past, this is what I have. As for groups, I don't know how they're going to reseed these. I assume based upon who goes 3-0, 3-1, 3-2 is going to determine what group they fall into, and then they'll have to split them. And I don't know if they're going to do an even split, where if they just put like 1, 3, 5, and 8, or whatever the heck it is, 1, 4, 5, and 8. I don't know what they're going to do for the group stage, where they split them into 2. That'll be interesting to see on how that plays out. I am very interested to see. But as of right now, this is what I have for your 16 teams and what they should be seeded for the wild card. I could be wrong on this. You may see a couple of these adjust and bump up and down. The biggest concern I have is like what they do for like this route. These last 4, I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know how much credit they're going to give to Tokyo Verde, and if they are going to give MENA 3 a little bit extra nod. But I do think it's only fair that APAC gets some credit as the #1 seed over on top of it. So that's what I've got. That's what I have. Let me know if you guys agree in the comments down below. Let me know what you guys think, if that is what we're going to get for the seeds. But again, you just never know. First round matchups, though. V1 versus Bravado. Renegades versus Orlando Pirates. Dignitas versus 0-1. SSG versus Tokyo Verde. K-Corp versus The Club. KCP versus Veloce. Team Secret versus Optic. And Gaming Gladiators versus Semper. It could be a lot of fun. Could be a lot of fun to see how those play out. But that's what I've got. We'll see if it happens. Let me know in the comments down below. Any of you agree or disagree with? Maybe we should bump some people around. Again, this is kind of stuff that you can kind of fill out and figure out and kind of theory craft on your own. But believe it or not, these types of things make a massive difference on who progresses forward. So this seeding is a very tall task, and I do not envy Psyonix. And maybe we'll react to this. After we get the official seeding, we'll react to see how closely we got. We're probably going to be super wrong. But either way, if you guys enjoyed the content, give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe, leave comments down below as it helps me out greatly. And we'll see you in the next one. Peace.